Welcome to the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business Podcast. My name is Sally Harrison. I'm the CEO of the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. Today, we are in the University of Phoenix podcast studio, and joining me as today's guest is Carly Daniels from Dorn Policy Group.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, I'm so glad you're here. So Carly is actually here kind of in multiple capacities today. Carly is one of the class of 2020. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about Mesa leadership, but we're also going to talk to her about her day job, the one she actually gets paid to do with Dorn Policy Group. So Carly, let's talk about, what brought you to Dorn Policy Group to start with?
Sure. So I guess after undergrad, I moved back home. I did my undergrad in Ohio, moved back home, did a few internships here in the Valley, one with the Chandler Chamber of Commerce and Terry Kimball. And that's who introduced me to Tom and Eric at Dorn Policy Group. Cultivated that relationship with both of them. And then also did an internship with Senator Flake.
Nice.
Here in his Phoenix office. And shortly after, Tom reached out and offered me a job. And so here I am.
So when was that?
Started with Tom in 2017.
Okay.
So it's been almost 3.5 years now.
That's awesome. So what's your role with Dorn Policy?
Yeah, so I am the director of state relations. So I focus on the state legislature here in Arizona. I focus on healthcare and education policy. And the two most heaviest and involved.
They've given you all the hot stuff.
Yes, it's kind of jump into the deep end.
Yeah, so you spend a lot of time, obviously, at the Capitol, working with our legislature.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that there's a lot going on right now, kind of wrapping up things, because I know last week they approved a skinny budget that was released on the 17th.
Yes, so the House of Representatives introduced the skinny budget due to the crisis, the COVID-19 crisis. The Senate passed all of those bills. I believe there were 11 or 12 bills. They passed those bills last Thursday. The House finished up yesterday on Monday, and they have recessed until April 13th.
Because of the COVID.
Because of COVID.
Okay, so when you talk about skinny budget, tell us what's involved in that. What are the highlights?
Sure. So the highlights are it's pretty much funding for state agencies to get through the next couple of months. Things that are absolutely vital to the state to keep running as is. And so there's no extras involved in that.
Okay. So talk about what education looks like.
So education, there's a couple things. So one of the main things I would want to point out is one of the bills that they passed in that skinny budget. It involved schools, the closure of schools, and what that looks like for the remainder of the school year. State testing, teachers being paid for the remainder of the school year, what those hourly individuals can do to continue to be paid, and what that work might look like now that schools are closed.
Okay. Anything else on education? I know it's a really broad topic, from higher ed to obviously, our K through 12, but there's a lot of talk, but it doesn't seem like everybody in kind of the world, our world, understands all the ins and outs.
So I will point out that all 3 state universities did get funding in the state budget.
Okay.
The skinny budget that was passed. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they each got some money from that. I think one of the big things to point out with K through 12 is that although a lot of these schools and districts are trying to go online, and teachers are trying to kind of figure that out, how that works for them, a lot of Democrats in the debate on the floor we're talking a lot about rural communities and what that might look like for them, because rural broadband is not something that is
always accessible, right?
Yeah, a strength. And so Arizona is still trying to work on that. And so that's something that's been an issue this session and in past sessions. And it's a priority for the governor, as he talked about in the State of the State earlier this year. And so having kids allowing them to have access to computers or iPads or anything like that
Sure.
is not as easy for those rural communities.
That makes sense.
And so that's a struggle.
Okay. So talk about how this is affecting our healthcare system.
In a big way.
Yes, it is.
Yes. I think hospitals and nurses, and not just those big companies. I think it's, your physical therapy, healthcare providers just around the valley, your small mom and pop shops. Being a chamber, I'm sure you've heard from a lot of members
Sure.
that are really struggling, both healthcare and not. And I think we're going to continue to see that, unfortunately, the struggle.
Well, any other highlights from the skinny budget? I know there were just a handful of things because obviously when you come back in a few weeks, couple of months, whatever that might be, then there will be more tweaks to it, right?
Yeah, so the Arizona legislature plans to come back April 13th and finish up session as normal. And hopefully they are able to do that, push some of those bills through the process and allocate monies to agencies and other organizations. But I also wanted to touch on the unemployment bill that they passed in the skinny budget. So that just allows DES, or the Department of Economic Security, to come up with another program for unemployment. Because a lot of people are losing their jobs, unfortunately. And so hopefully that can help them out in that sense.
So if there is an issue that one of our members is having, because you are not just the lobbying firm for the East Valley Chambers of Commerce Alliance, but also for the Mesa Chamber individually, how do people get in touch with you guys? If there's an issue that they feel like they need help with at that level, who should they reach out to?
I think any of us. Our website is dornpolicygroup.com. That's a great resource. We're all kind of working from home right now, I think, like a lot of other people. I think reach out to you and you can connect them with us. I think we're more than happy to do that.
I know a lot of our members all have their own types of issues, right? So I think they're coming kind of fast and furious, and people are just concerned because of the unknown. So, anything that we can do to pass that information on, we certainly will. Let's change modes here. Let's talk about Mesa leadership. You started last fall with the class.
Yes.
Talk about what you've gotten out of that, what that looks like.
It's been good. I think going into it, I'll get a little more personal. I didn't expect the class to be, I don't want to say older, but I am the youngest in my class by probably 10 years or more. And so that was kind of a wake-up call for me. I wasn't expecting that. But it's been great to learn from people who are older and have more experience in the workforce and have kind of been through some of those issues that I'm either facing or probably going to face at some point. And so that's been really great to have that. And just get to know some other people around Mesa and just see some of the things that Mesa does is amazing that I had no idea.
Isn't it? I mean, I went through the class and graduated in 2010. And honestly, I had worked at the chamber for 4 years. And, well, I shouldn't say that. I had worked here for a couple of years, but I had lived in Mesa for 4. And I didn't even know some of the things that I saw and learned about even existed before the class.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Quite an eye-opener.
It is. All the nonprofits and every, the support they give to the community members is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So what's been a highlight for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is just learning about what the city is doing. I think I'm really excited about downtown and how that's changing and evolving and growing. I'm really excited to see what that looks like in the next 5 to 10 years.
Any favorite tours? Did you go on a ride along?
I did.
Yeah.
I went on a police ride along. It was really cool. I have some family members that are officers, and so it was cool to see kind of the behind the scenes of it and what happens and everything.
That's cool. So you talk about your class project, because every class every year does a class project.
Ours was the best.
Okay, so you are like every class before you. Everybody thinks theirs is the best, except maybe my class. But we'll leave that. But yes, I know about your project, so let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So we worked with Paz de Cristo here downtown.
Yep.
And we revamped the kind of the storefront, I guess you would call it. We did the landscaping out front, and we put in a security system.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so it was really fun. We had a huge, I guess, casino night, if you want to call it that.
A fundraiser.
And that was so fun.
I went. Your team did an amazing job.
Yeah.
The class really came together. You know, it's amazing because you learn everybody's strengths, right?
Absolutely.
Some people are fundraisers. Some people just are the workhorses, and you just have to take advantage of everybody's strengths, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool to see everyone kind of work together and say, okay, I'll cover this, you cover that. And to see it all come together was really, really cool.
Very cool. And Paz project is done.
Paz project is done.
I saw you all had a lot of sweat equity in that project.
I heard glad it's done.
A lot of people talking about achy backs.
Yes. Yes. Sad to say that we won't be having, I guess, a ribbon cutting or whatever you want to call it. We were supposed to have something like that. And unfortunately, because of everything going on, we had to cancel that, but it's good to go.
Well, that's exciting, and I know what that means to them. I mean, our nonprofits in our area anyway are all really, you know, grateful when the community steps up. But when Mesa leadership takes on a project like that and comes up with some really creative things to do for that type of an agency, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears that go into a project are really meaningful. And obviously, something like Paz de Cristo, I mean, they deserve that type of support.
Absolutely.
They've been such a pillar in our community for so long. It just makes such a difference to them.
Absolutely. And I think, too, it absolutely benefits Paz de Cristo, but I think it also benefits the businesses in the surrounding area. And so I think it's kind of a win-win for everyone up and down that part of the street.
Very cool. Anything else you want to chat about?
I don't think so.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. Thanks, really, for taking the time, but for being part of Mesa Leadership. You know, Mesa Leadership's been in existence for a very long time. It's a program of the Mesa Chamber through our foundation, and frankly, we need more young people like you to take advantage of those programs because it is a learning experience.
It absolutely is.
Carly, thanks so much for joining us today on the Inside Business Podcast. You can find all of our episodes of the Inside Business Podcast at iTunes, Google Play, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Thanks again.
Thank you.